Hashtag the science behind high-intensity interval training. Hashtag healthcore daily. What if you could get the same cardiovascular and metabolic benefits of a 60-minute jog in just 20 minutes? What if the secret to burning fat for hours after your workout ends was hidden inside a simple pattern of effort and rest? Science says this is not a gimmick. It is not a marketing promise from a supplement company. It is a measurable, reproducible physiological reality, and today we are going to break down exactly how it works, why it works, and what happens inside your body every single second you push through a high-intensity interval training session. Welcome to Healthcore Daily. Let us get into the science. Hashtag background. High-intensity interval training, commonly called HIIT, is not a new concept. Its roots trace back to the early 20th century, when Finnish Olympic runner Hannes Kalamainen and his coach began experimenting with alternating bursts of speed with recovery periods during training. Those early athletes noticed something fascinating: they could develop greater endurance and power by training harder for shorter periods than by running steady distances every day. By the 1950s, exercise physiologist Per-Olof Strand conducted structured research demonstrating that interval training placed a significantly greater demand on the cardiovascular system than continuous moderate exercise performed at the same total work output. This was a landmark discovery. It told scientists that intensity, not just duration, was a primary driver of adaptation. The modern HIIT revolution exploded in 1996 when Japanese scientist Izumi Tabata published a study comparing a group doing 60 minutes of moderate-intensity cycling with a group doing just 4 minutes of high-intensity intervals, 20 seconds of all-out effort followed by 10 seconds of rest, repeated 8 times. After 6 weeks, the interval group showed significantly greater improvements in both aerobic and anaerobic capacity. 4 minutes outperformed 60. The scientific community took notice, and so did the fitness world. Today, HIIT is one of the most studied exercise protocols in sports science. Hundreds of peer-reviewed studies have confirmed its effectiveness across diverse populations, from elite athletes to sedentary adults, from teenagers to adults over 65. Hashtag main content. So what actually happens inside your body during a HIIT session? To understand this, you first need to understand energy systems. Your body has 3 primary ways to produce energy. The first is the phosphocreatine system, which powers explosive movements lasting up to 10 seconds. The second is the glycolytic system, which kicks in for efforts lasting 10 seconds to about 2 minutes by rapidly breaking down glucose. The third is the oxidative system, the aerobic pathway, which sustains longer efforts by using oxygen to burn carbohydrates and fats. During the high-intensity intervals, those moments where you are sprinting, cycling at maximum effort, or performing burpees as fast as your body will allow, all 3 systems are recruited simultaneously. Your body is desperately trying to meet an enormous energy demand. This is not comfortable. Your muscles burn. Your lungs feel like they cannot take in enough air. Your heart rate spikes toward its maximum. This is by design. This acute physiological stress is precisely what triggers every beneficial adaptation that follows. During those recovery periods, something equally important is happening. Your body begins restoring phosphocreatine stores, clearing lactate from muscle tissue, and partially replenishing oxygen levels. But because the recovery is deliberately short, often 30 seconds to 2 minutes, your body never fully returns to its resting state before the next interval begins. You start each new effort already partially fatigued. This accumulated fatigue is what forces your cardiovascular and metabolic systems to adapt far more rapidly than they would through steady-state training. One of the most significant adaptations triggered by HIIT is mitochondrial biogenesis. Mitochondria are the organelles inside your cells responsible for aerobic energy production. More mitochondria means your muscles can produce energy more efficiently and sustain higher intensities before fatigue sets in. A 2017 study published in the journal Cell Metabolism found that just 12 weeks of HIIT significantly increased mitochondrial capacity in both young and older adults, with older participants showing even more pronounced gains at the cellular level. This finding has profound implications for aging, metabolic health, and disease prevention. Hashtag deep dive. Now let us talk about the phenomenon that makes HIIT particularly compelling for people focused on body composition: excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, or EPOC. You may have heard this called the afterburn effect, and the science behind it is genuinely remarkable. After a high-intensity interval session ends, your body is not done working. Not even close. Your metabolism remains elevated for hours afterward as your body performs a complex set of recovery operations. It is rebalancing hormone levels, restoring glycogen stores, repairing micro-damaged muscle tissue, and most importantly, repaying the oxygen debt accumulated during those intense efforts. All of this metabolic activity burns calories. Research published in the European Journal of Applied Physiology found that HIIT produced significantly greater EPOC than steady-state exercise, with metabolic rate remaining elevated for up to 24 hours post-workout in some subjects. A single 30-minute HIIT session can increase caloric expenditure by an additional 150 to 200 calories beyond what you burned during the workout itself. Across weeks and months of consistent training, this adds up to a meaningful contribution to overall energy balance and fat loss. Beyond caloric burn, HIIT has profound effects on insulin sensitivity. Insulin is the hormone responsible for shuttling glucose from your bloodstream into your cells. When your cells become resistant to insulin, a condition increasingly common in modern sedentary populations, glucose accumulates in the blood, setting the stage for type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome. HIIT appears to be one of the most potent non-pharmacological interventions known to improve insulin sensitivity. A study published in Diabetologia found that just 2 weeks of HIIT, 6 sessions of 1 minute of intense effort, repeated 10 times with 1-minute recoveries, improved insulin sensitivity by 23% in sedentary, overweight men. Comparable results have been replicated across multiple studies. The mechanism appears to involve increased glucose transporter proteins, particularly GLUT4, which move glucose into muscle cells more efficiently after HIIT-trained muscles have been repeatedly depleted of their glycogen stores. HIIT also triggers significant adaptations in your cardiovascular system. Stroke volume, the amount of blood your heart pumps per beat, increases with HIIT training as the heart becomes stronger and more efficient. Cardiac output improves. Blood vessels become more elastic, reducing arterial stiffness, which is a major risk factor for hypertension and cardiovascular disease. A meta-analysis of 65 randomized controlled trials found that HIIT produced significantly greater improvements in cardiorespiratory fitness, measured as VO2 max, compared to moderate-intensity continuous training. VO2 max is considered one of the strongest predictors of long-term health outcomes and longevity. ## analysis now. With all of this compelling evidence, it is worth asking a critical question: is more HIIT always better? The answer is definitively no, and understanding this distinction is what separates intelligent training from harmful overtraining. Because HIIT places such significant demands on the central nervous system, the musculoskeletal system, and the hormonal system, it requires meaningful recovery. Performing intense interval sessions every single day without adequate rest leads to a cascade of negative adaptations. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, becomes chronically elevated. Testosterone and growth hormone levels drop. Sleep quality deteriorates. Immune function weakens. Performance declines rather than improves, and injury risk increases substantially. Most exercise scientists and sports medicine professionals recommend 2 to 3 HIIT sessions per week for most individuals, with at least 48 hours between sessions. This allows the full cascade of adaptive responses, mitochondrial biogenesis, increased enzyme activity, improved cardiovascular efficiency, to actually occur before the next stimulus is applied. Think of adaptation not as happening during the workout, but during the recovery that follows it. Programming matters enormously. A well-designed HIIT protocol considers the work-to-rest ratio, the total number of intervals, the modality of exercise, and the individual's fitness baseline. A beginner should not start with 20 seconds of all-out effort followed by 10 seconds of rest. A more appropriate starting point might be 30 seconds of hard effort followed by 90 seconds of recovery, performed 6 to 8 times. As fitness improves, recovery periods shorten, interval intensity increases, and total work volume can expand gradually.